Om Tavakatamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvignanti Bhurita Jana. Thy nectar-like words, full of divine glories, are auspicious to hear. They are filled with the power to destroy the threefold miseries of life. These words are praised by sages. They destroy sin. And those who hear and spread thy words, O Lord, are the greatest benefactors. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is starting a new chapter, 5, the Master and Keshab. I will paraphrase some of the descriptions which are there in the first few lines of this chapter. It was Friday, October 27, 1882. It was a Lakshmi Puja, and Keshab Chandra Sen had organized a boat trip down the Ganges in a steamer, and he invited Sri Ramakrishna to come aboard. So the boat had come from Calcutta, the steamer, not a big steamer, a small steamer, because we know the Ganges, and it wasn't so deep so as to allow big steamers to come in. And the boat was full of passengers, all belonging to the members of the Brahmo Samaj. So they had anchored a little distance away from the bathing ghat of Dakshineshwar. And a boat was arranged to take Sri Ramakrishna. And that's what happened. And the description is how Dakshineshwar looked from the boat anchored in midstream. So Keshab was on the boat, on the steamer. Sri Ramakrishna was in his room with Vijay Krishna Goswami and a few other devotees. So the members of the Brahmo Samaj, few of them in the reception committee, humbly asked Sri Ramakrishna to come along in the boat and meet Keshab Chandra Sen. And that's what he did. But as soon as he got into that boat, rather the canoe that will take him from the bathing ghat, the ghat, to the steamer, he goes into samadhi. And very carefully, the boat was rowed to the steamer, and Keshab was anxious to see if everything is okay and no untoward incident takes place. He was brought on the steamer, and on the deck, he walked on the deck with support from a devotee. He was in that God-intoxicated mood, and they took him in the room there. It's probably the state room there. There were a few chairs, and the room was full of people, and the rest of them were crowded around the doorway and the windows, etc. Since the room had become stuffy, Keshab opened a few more windows to let in fresh air. Keshab and Vijay, they were both members of the Brahmo Samaj, and they had split due to differences of opinion. That's a long story reserved for some other day. Since there was a schism there, and now they happened to come face to face with each other, they were a little embarrassed. But the cynosure of all eyes was Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was in that high mood, and then they were patiently waiting for Sri Ramakrishna to come down on this plane of consciousness and enlighten them. Gradually, he came back to sense consciousness, but the divine intoxication still lingered. We are on page 133, second paragraph. He said to himself in a whisper, "Mother, why have you brought me here? They are hedged around and not free. Can I free them?" This is not a monologue. And it was seen in all his life, he used to speak directly to the Divine Mother. She was ever present in his consciousness. When we talk to ourselves, it's a monologue. And most of our mental energy is spent in talking to ourselves. That is one of the causes of the restlessness of the mind. Sri Ramakrishna was gradually becoming conscious of the outside world. Neel Madhav, a gentleman from Ghazipur. Now, Ghazipur is in North India. It is very close to Benares, Varanasi. And we know Ghazipur, the name rings a bell in all devotees' minds, because there was a great sage who lived there called Pavahari Baba. Pavahari Baba, Baba is a holy man. Pavahari, one who lives on air. Nobody has seen him what he ate. So that name stuck. He must be eating air. Yes, he was another great yogi whom Swami Vivekananda also met and interacted later. So, a Brahmo devotee is introducing the devotees from Ghazipur, saying, "Sir, these gentlemen visit Pavhari Baba. He lives in Ghazipur. He is a holy man like yourself." Now, this was the introduction. Why Ghazipur and why the devotees were there? Ghazipur was, during that time, India was producing and exporting huge quantities of opium to China. Now we know who was doing what. And we know what happened, and the Chinese citizenry was addicted to opium, etc. So it was produced there. It was there in India. But of course, you must also understand that it was done in colonial times under the British rule. So the master could hardly talk when the introduction. He only smiled. The devotee continued, "Sir, Pavhari Baba keeps your photograph in his room." Now this is very interesting. Somehow he had managed to get a picture of Sri Ramakrishna, one of the earliest prints. How it landed there, we do not know. Pointing to his body, the master said with a smile, just a pillowcase. So pillowcase, not a pillow, a pillowcase. But then, to clarify things, the master continued, but you must remember that the heart of the devotee is the abode of God. Here, it may be a pillowcase, but he is a great devotee of God. And in the heart of a devotee, God is especially manifest there. He says, continues, he dwells no doubt in all beings, but he is especially manifest himself in the heart of the devotee. A landlord may at one time or another visit all parts of his estate, but people say he is generally to be found in a particular drawing room. The heart of the devotee is the drawing room of God. Now we've seen who is qualified to be a devotee in our previous classes. Briefly, one who is devoted to God is a devotee, where one's own individuality has become blended with that of God's. That, in brief, is a devotee. Okay. Then he says, then he goes to the highest flights, like Sri Ramakrishna. He who is called Brahman by the Jnanis is known as Atman by the yogis and as Bhagavan by the bhaktas, devotees. So people who tread the path of knowledge, jnana, people who tread the path of yoga, people who tread the path of devotion, bhakti. These are the three broad divisions in Vedanta. Yoga, of course, is a separate philosophy. But these words have also been interchangeably used by everyone else. But here he is making a very clear distinction according to the philosophy of Vedanta, according to the philosophy of yoga, according to the philosophy of dualism, that I, thou. And he says, the same Brahman is called a priest when worshipping in the temple and cook when preparing a meal in the kitchen. The different roles, the person is the same. Then he continues, the jnani, the person of knowledge, sticking to the path of knowledge, always reasons, discerns is the right word, about the reality, saying, not this, not this. As they say, neti, neti. Whatever you see cannot be the reality. Why? Because it's changing, it's mutable. Reality cannot mutate itself. And this changes, so imperceptible, but yet there are changes. So if reality mutates or it changes, it cannot be the reality. So it's not this, not the gross universe, not the subtle universe, because the subtle universe of the mind also constantly changes. So he's saying, not this, neti, neti, neti. There's a long passage in one of the Upanishads called the Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, where the sage gives na rasva, na dirga, na lohita, na sneha, na chaya, na tapo. So constantly he says, it is not this, it is not short, it is not long, it is not big, it is not small, it is not atomic, it is not heat, it's not light, it's not cold, it keeps on discerning. Now this discerning is not just on the conscious mind. It's at the very deepest layer of your consciousness. Because people say, oh, the world does not exist. But the world, somebody comes and knocks you on the head. You won't say that same thing again. So at the deepest level, that these people, to arrive at this mode of discernment between the reality and the unreality, it has taken a long course of spiritual disciplines to arise at this. They have perfectly controlled their bodies. They have perfectly controlled the vital forces. They have perfectly controlled the senses and the mind. Then you can do all this discernment. Okay, it's called in Vedanta Vichar. Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka. The discernment between the real and the unreal. This is the very first qualifications in Vedanta. And he continues. Brahman is neither this, not that, not this, not that, not near nor far. It is neither the universe nor its living beings here. It is neither the universe. The universe is not the universe that is in a backyard. The universe means the universe as a whole. This massive universe that we see around, which we don't know the fullest extent of. This whole thing. And the living being. From a clump of grass to the highest gods called Brahma. They are all illusory. And that needs a tremendous discipline. Reasoning in this way, the mind becomes steady. Then it disappears, and the mind disappears. That is, the mind merges. But what? How will you exist if the mind merges? The mind merges every day, every night. When you go to sleep, there's no mind. You notice that? And when the mind goes, you also go. All what you have built throughout the day and throughout your life, that also. But then it goes in a seed form and it emerges. That seed form is avidya, ignorance. In this case, when the mind becomes steady, like a flame in a windless place, that is the illustration of the steady mind. Yata deepo nivatasti. And then as it becomes still, it disappears. And the aspirant goes into samadhi, high samadhi. People say, I have had samadhi, and we also smile. We know. Samadhi is when the body, looked at it from the outside, the body dies. There's no function of the body. The senses stop functioning, the vital forces stop functioning, and the mind disappears. That is called samadhi. But the body, do you die? Yeah, you die. You cannot have life here and then have an experience of Brahman. One has to go off. Either the experience of Brahman goes and you experience the body, or the experience of the body and mind, etc. goes and you experience Brahman. You cannot have your feet in two boats and say, I've got it. Now this is talking about the highest experience, that the Atman is Brahman. Okay. But, so what is Samadhi? Samadhi is, as I keep on speaking about it, it's just an ultra concentration. It's a tremendous concentration. Like the entire powers of the universe are centered within you, which in the preliminary stages of spiritual disciplines, you center the powers of the universe within you, because You, an individual, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So the powers of the universe flows through you, and there you concentrate these powers there. And as these powers are concentrated, the mind disappears along with the powers and everything, and it merges into Brahman. So that is the highest state of samadhi called a nirvikalpa samadhi. This is the knowledge of Brahman. This, when the mind disappears, where does it disappear? It goes away. That is the knowledge of Brahman. It is the unwavering conviction of the jnani, the person of knowledge, that Brahman alone is real and the world illusory. Now, illusory, you've got to understand, it's translated as illusory. Vedanta does not say it is illusory. Or it explains it, every illusion must have a substratum. You cannot have an illusion here and the reality somewhere there. So illusion, one thing is appearing as the other. When you see a mirage, you see water, but that water has been reflected from somewhere else. Or when you see the snake, when you look closely, oh my God, it's a snake. Then you bring the light, oh, it was a coil of rope. But the illusory rope appears where there's a reality called a coil of rope. So, the reality is appearing as something else. This is the illusion. Many people say it does not exist. Yes, it does not exist as the world. It exists as the reality. So when you can realize the Brahman, this whole world disappears. Okay, I think we can proceed with, this is enough, I think. Enough of heavy stuff here. What Brahman is cannot be described. Yes, we can only describe it through, it is not this and not this, or as Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Right? Because the scriptures describe it. So it's a description. So when I point out that is a clock, you look at my finger and say, that is a clock, he says. But that's not what I meant. I was indicating that is a clock, and these people are fighting over the direction of the finger. So Brahman is something like this. The description is here, but it is there. The reality is there. One cannot even say that Brahman is a person. You cannot say Brahman is a personal God. So compassionate, so loving, so kind. He is a creator of the world. And he is the father and the mother and everything. Oh God, please help me. Give me a grace. That all goes away in the path of knowledge. Yeah, that's why it's meant for the tough guys. This is the opinion of the jnanis, the followers of the Vedanta philosophy. Sorry. But the bhaktas, now it's bringing it on, devotees. But the bhaktas accept all states of consciousness. All states? Yeah. Every state. Subconsciousness, consciousness, pre-consciousness, elevated consciousness, super consciousness, unconscious, and even all the other consciousness, waking and dream and deep sleep, everything. Devotees, we say the world is unreal, the devotee gets so annoyed, and that has been a constant quarrel between these two sects. They take the waking state to be real also. They don't think that the world to be illusory like a dream. Sorry. They say that the universe is a manifestation of God's power and glory. God is there. He will have power and glory. Like there's a person, and a person is sitting down there. Like we know, people are sitting down here. People. But then you have so many talents, and you have so many opinions, and so many thoughts, and so many this and that, which you can manifest, display out in the world. So a person has certain powers. Every person has certain powers. Everything is like, the life is a manifestation of that potential which is there in every person. So God and the universe, is the power and the glory of God. God has created all these: sky, stars, moon, sun, mountain, ocean, men, animals. They constitute His glory. He is within us, in our hearts. Again, He is outside. That is the devotee. They say, okay, my God. Yeah, my God is also her God and his God and everybody's God. You cannot say my God. Just say God. So, what is this? It is no longer a limited being. When God is within all and also without, outside all, this is that all-pervading reality that we see. So where is He? Where is that God? Or where is she? It doesn't matter. It's in nature. Nature is God's glory and manifestation. And God is within the hearts of all beings. So all living beings and all nature, like we've been saying, that there's a triad in all devotional scriptures. The individual soul, the external world, and that which joins them together, the underlying reality. This triad constitutes every theology or philosophy try to deal with these three categories. And as you've seen in the last Sunday's talk, that the sages found that it's the one appearing as a three. So it's called a Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Individual souls or souls, the external world, and so where is this? It's here. You are an individual soul, but can individuality last if there is no collective? It's not possible. So your higher self is that same God there. And nature, the external world, is what constitutes my body and mind. So it's all here. You are, in a way, these three factors. You think you're one, the only one. No. That's why we say we are the world. When you say we are the world, it's not wrong. And then when you say God is the soul of my soul, that's correct. So devotees, then he's saying, the more advanced devotees say that he himself has become all this. The 24 cosmic principles, the universe, and all living beings. So, higher advanced. This is what is. So you rise from the state of dualistic worship, I, thou, and you say, I am thou, thou art I. And also, the universe that you see is nothing but your own, not your manifestation, not your glory, not your power. It is you yourself. Like a person has an individual consciousness, has a mind, has intelligence, has got senses, and vital forces, and the body. So many factors go to make a person. Similarly, God's body is the universe. And then you get the idea. And the internal consciousness of this entirety, this cosmic entity, is God consciousness. That's why in the Vedas and all they say, God is spoken of as the supreme Purusha, the cosmic man, the Purusha. That is called the higher form of devotees. The 24 cosmic principles, these are the cosmic principles laid down by the Sankhya philosophy. Most of the other philosophies have taken them more or less with a slight modifications. They've enumerated them a little differently, but it's 24. So 24 cosmic principles from the unmanifest, from the manifest, from the cosmic mind and the cosmic sense of individuality, and then the 5 sense organs and 5 motor organs, and then the 5 pranas and the 5 great elements, all this, and the permutation, combination, and the one consciousness is separate. That's a 25th. So God has become all the 24, the universe, and all living beings. Yes. So what about my individuality? Your individuality is constantly changing. If you say that you are an individual, individuality is that which does not change, but you are changing. But I am the same person. You see if you are the same person. So your real individuality is that which is God. Then he says, the devotee of God wants to eat sugar, not to become sugar. So it's a line from a song which Ramakrishna used to quote quite often about, you can say, a mystic poet. He's saying, Chini khete chai ma chini hote chai na. That is, I want to eat sugar. I don't want to be sugar. Then you lose all the fun, you know. But you might end up with the diabetes or whatever. But then you can have a little. All laugh. Do you know how a lover of God feels? His attitude, oh God, thou art the master and I am thy servant. Thou art the mother and I am thy child. Or again, thou art my father and mother. Thou art the whole, I am a part. The devotee, he doesn't like to say, I am Brahman. That is not it. So briefly before we conclude, we just read. So you're seeing the path of knowledge, the path of devotion, and the path of yoga. The yogi seeks to realize the Paramatman, the Supreme Atman, Supreme Soul. His ideal is the union of the embodied soul and the Supreme Soul, the Jiva and the Paramatma. He withdraws his mind from the sense objects, which is called Pratyahara, and tries to concentrate it on the Paramatman, Dharana. Therefore, during the first stage of his spiritual discipline, he retires into solitude and with undivided attention practices meditation in a fixed posture. This is what is. So, yeah, this embodied soul, yeah, I am an embodied soul, and I've got to seek to join myself with the Supreme Soul. And what disturbs this identification with the Supreme Soul? The senses are constantly making the mind bubble outside. And the mind is constantly running apart. And the first thing it does is it trains the body, trains the mind, trains the senses, withdraws, and then plunges into this Atman, Paramatman. So we stop here for questions if there are. So here we have only, okay, pranams, thank you. Thank you. Do you have any questions here? Yeah, well, then we can conclude today's class. And Friday we have the householder disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Nag Mahashay, who was a very great sage soul. And Sunday we have Swami Brahmananda's birthday, Raja Maharaj. So we're going to speak of Swami Brahmananda, the spiritual colossus. That's at 10 a.m. morning. We also have on Saturday the monthly retreat at Tapovan from 1 to 5. All are welcome. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.